The difficulty was that one level of the demon's castle was as large as a whole city. It felt like it would go on forever. Jinwoo decided to split his army into 6 groups of 20 soldiers each. He sent them out in different directions to find and fight monsters. He gave 2 instructions. First, defeat every enemy you find. Second, tell me right away when you discover the permit for the next level. Jinwoo couldn't clearly explain things to his soldiers, but easy hand movements helped. Since the soldiers couldn't collect items themselves, he would have to meet them wherever they found the permit. He might have to leave some treasure behind, but getting the permit was the most important thing. Go. With that, the 6 groups headed in different directions. Soon after, messages appeared showing he had earned points. He got 1,500 points. Then another 1,500, he also got 901 points. Points were coming in quickly. It seemed like others were busy working. Jinwoo was glad to see his total points increase, but he noticed something strange. The number of points he was getting was going down. He hadn't fought any weak or average demons since he reached the higher levels. The most common monsters here were strong demons and a few very powerful ones. Strong demons gave 700 experience points, and the powerful ones gave 2. He carefully watched the experience points as they came in, and realized the amount was definitely getting smaller. He thought the farther away his soldiers were, the fewer experience points he got. That was good information. Because of the special demon's castle, Jinwoo learned more about how experience points worked. He hadn't sent any soldiers to the lower levels yet. He liked getting practice fighting and didn't want to miss any demon souls to finish his goal. Now he understood that had been a smart choice. He wasn't upset about getting fewer experience points each time. Even though each one was smaller, he was getting more overall because he could cover a larger area while hunting. He kept seeing messages telling him he was earning experience points. Because of all those things, his skill level began to increase. Level up, Jinwoo made a fist. Good. He thought it wasn't a good idea to leave all the valuable items behind, but it was okay. This helps me get stronger and finish the dungeon fast. I was getting 2 things done at the same time. Jinwoo was very happy as he looked at his new level. Jinwoo's plan had worked perfectly. He was able to reach the 80th floor faster than he thought he would. As soon as he got there, he called forth his soldiers. Whoosh, 119 soldiers appeared all at once. They gained levels quickly by defeating monsters. Wow, Tank had already gone up 10 levels. This surprised him. Tank stood on his back legs and roared loudly, happy he reached level 28, and got his owner's notice. Jinwoo was happy that the hunting was going well. He smiled and said, "Okay, let's go." He decided to work by himself, while his soldier group split into 6 teams. He was used to doing things alone, and didn't need their help. He believed he could defeat all of his soldiers, except for Fang, who was made stronger by a special item. But what if Fang was part of the battle? That would actually make things more exciting and challenging. He was lost in thought, imagining something unbelievable. About a week earlier, Jinwoo had told one of his shadow soldiers to attack him, just to see what would happen, and for a little excitement. Something strange happened for the first time ever. The shadow soldier didn't listen to him. Jinwoo wasn't sure why it wouldn't move, if it was being loyal, or if something else was making it stay put. Jinwoo, who controlled the shadow soldiers, wasn't too surprised by what he found. Wait, where are all the demons? He flipped Barca's dagger back and forth, trying to sense if any monsters were nearby. There really should be some around here. Jinwoo looked around, carefully checking everything. He felt like someone was nearby, but he couldn't see any creatures. Hadn't this happened before? He remembered something similar happening in the past. Suddenly the ground shook, and dirt flew up into the air. 3 strange demons appeared, and stood around Jinwoo. Jinwoo looked at them with a worried expression. The evil creatures thought he was scared and rushed at him, opening their mouths wide. They wanted to bite his head, because they believed it was the tastiest part of a human. But as he jumped and twisted in the air, whoosh, the creatures' heads fell to the ground before he even touched down. You defeated a powerful demon. You defeated, yes. Jinwoo clapped his hands together. He remembered something similar happening in the last dungeon he explored with Gino. The stone creatures had hidden underground and attacked in the same way. Jinwoo had been getting annoyed trying to remember what happened, but now he felt much better. It was like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He quickly collected the rewards from the defeated monsters and started to walk away, but then he stopped after a few steps. Jinwoo looked down at the ground. He stared at the floor as he spoke. Are you going to come out or not? Everything around him seemed to shake. It was hard to tell if it was the ground or something else. It had been difficult for Jinwoo to reach this level. There must be very strong monsters ahead. Once again, a group of shadows appeared before him. He called his soldiers back because creating and rebuilding them was using up all his energy. This had never happened before. He found that hunting on floors 76 through 80 worked best when he split his soldiers into smaller groups. He wondered if the monsters were the reason for the problem. Most of the monsters on floor 80 were very powerful demons instead of just strong ones, and they liked to hide under the ground to attack. However, these creatures weren't causing trouble for his soldiers because of their strength. Something else was happening. All the soldiers who lost were from groups without anyone in charge. The groups led by Fang, Igris, Iron and Tank were doing well, but the ones with no leader had been defeated. Or the creatures attacking the weakest groups on purpose. If that was true, it meant there were monsters smart enough to find out where their enemies were vulnerable. What if these creatures were not only strong but also intelligent? Whatever they were causing a lot of trouble. There were 4 teams remaining. 5, if you included his own. If those creatures could figure out who was the weakest, it would show everyone where they would attack next. With that thought, Jinwoo disappeared instantly. Jinwoo quickly appeared near Tank's location. He saw a group of shadowy creatures. They were black bears with dark steam coming from their backs and tall orcs wearing black armor. Tank, who was in charge, walked at the front. This group would be their next target. When Tank was alive, he had led a group of ice bears, and was a powerful magical beast that could defeat shadow soldiers. Even after he became a shadowy figure, only a few of the soldiers could win against him in a fight. But that didn't matter much. The leaders of the other groups Iron, Igris and Fang were much stronger. Tank was a higher rank, but he was still just a regular soldier. Igris and Iron were strong knights, and Fang was even stronger. Tank couldn't beat them, so if these enemies were smart, they would realize who was the weakest and attack them next. Jinwoo decided to stay back and watch for a while. He tried to hide his presence as best he could while following the shadow creatures from a safe distance. The soldiers didn't see him approach. How long had it been? Jinwoo was surprised they had waited so long. He couldn't see any enemies. Was he mistaken? He began to think maybe there were too many monsters for his soldiers to fight all at once. Then his eyes focused. Something was happening. The enemy was hiding until they were very close, so Jinwoo didn't notice them until they were almost right on top of their target. Jinwoo closed his eyes and focused his senses. It was like having a radar that showed him all the enemies around him. He could sense 4 of them coming closer, 20 of his soldiers, and 5 demons hidden beneath the ground. He opened his eyes. He decided to deal with the 5 hidden demons later. He moved quietly and secretly. Jinwoo became invisible and went toward his soldiers. He could soon see the enemy clearly. They were riding on horses. The sound of hooves went clip-clop, and they had weapons too. They were wearing armor and riding on horseback. He could see their names as they came closer. Jinwoo had never seen a demon wear armor before, so he knew these demons were especially powerful. Their names showed that was true. There was a demon noble and 3 demon knights. Jinwoo had never heard of those titles, but there they were written in black letters. He could feel how much they disliked him. He guessed they were the ones causing trouble for his soldiers. They were giving off strong feelings of power and anger. Jinwoo decided to remain hidden and watch for a bit longer. He wanted to see how the demons fought. He planned to study their powers and fighting styles as much as possible. It was surprising that some demons could beat his shadow soldiers. He was actually excited to see what would happen next. Jinwoo stood back so he wouldn't get in the way of the fight between his shadow soldiers and the new demons. Tank saw the demons, and they quickly got off their horses. It seemed the horses were just for getting around. Jinwoo watched the demons carefully. When the enemy appeared, the shadow soldiers shouted loudly and ran forward to attack first. The battle had begun. Tank charged forward. He ran as quickly as he could with all 4 legs and stood up on his back legs facing the demons. If regular people had been there, they would have been very scared. But the demons didn't even move. No one moved until Tank swung his front leg with all his strength. It whooshed through the air. A fast attack even for a bear as big as he was. But the demon noble Tank was trying to hit jumped right over the bear's leg. Jinwoo didn't expect that. and it kept getting more surprising. After turning in the air, the creature quickly stabbed its spear into Tank. The spear went in with a loud sound. It had magical power, and the attack made a hole in Tank's chest as big as a watermelon. The creature moved smoothly and beautifully. Jinwoo could feel a lot of powerful energy coming from its small body. He became very interested in the new demons. These weren't regular monsters. It wasn't just the main demon that was strong. The 3 knights guarding it were also very powerful. The fight was clearly unfair. The shadow soldiers didn't stand a chance against the demons. Unlike big demons that were easy to defeat, these demon knights quickly destroyed the shadow beasts. This is why the shadow beasts couldn't heal fast enough. Jinwoo was amazed. Aru. The shadow beasts were defeated by spears and swords as soon as they reappeared. Jinwoo felt conflicted. The shadow soldiers kept fighting as long as Jinwoo had magical energy. If he ran out of energy, they would turn back into shadows and return to him. Even so, Jinwoo didn't like seeing his soldiers defeated. It felt like watching a younger brother come home after a fight. Jinwoo had seen enough. He couldn't watch any longer and told his soldiers to return to him. The shadowy creatures quickly disappeared under Jinwoo's feet, becoming part of his shadow. The powerful demons looked at each other and nodded, seeming pleased that the shadow creatures had run away. It was like they were celebrating their 3rd win. Suddenly a rushing sound filled the air. Jinwoo stopped hiding and appeared right among them. The demons jumped back in surprise but quickly got ready to fight. Sensing his anger, Jinwoo hit the 2 knights closest to him with his fists, knocking them to the ground. Then he flipped another knight who ran toward him. The ground cracked and spread out like a spider web. And a message appeared. You defeated a demon knight. You gained 3,000 experience points. The same message showed up 3 more times. He defeated 3 monsters quickly, using only 3 attacks in under a second. Those were just minor enemies though. He wanted to fight the strongest one. Jinwoo looked at the powerful demon. The demon was surprised when their eyes met, and quickly raised a spear toward Jinwoo. He had often wondered if monsters could feel scared. Now he knew they could. The demon's spear shook slightly. It hadn't done that when fighting the shadowy soldiers. Being able to tell how strong an enemy is a useful skill. Just because you are scared doesn't mean I will hold back. Jinwoo quickly ran forward as the demon pushed its spear toward him. Jinwoo quickly moved his head to dodge the attack. He was surprised the demon could keep throwing its spear while floating in the air. The first spear nearly hit him between the eyes, the next aimed for his neck, and the last one tried to strike his chest. The knight was a skilled fighter, moving with grace and power, but Jinwoo blocked every strike with his dagger. During one attack aimed at his chest, he quickly used the dagger to cut the knight's spear right in half. The knight was surprised to see its weapon broken into 2 pieces. The fight was on. Even 3 or 4 strong hunters working together wouldn't be able to defeat this enemy. Jinwoo thought his opponent was very powerful. It was just bad luck that they had to fight each other. He firmly grabbed the enemy's helmet. Ouch! The demon was surprised and tried to pull away, but Jinwoo's grip was too strong to break. He focused his energy into his left hand to pull the helmet off and strike at the neck. The helmet came off easily. He lifted Barca's dagger into the air. I give up. I surrender. Jinwoo stopped his hand. A woman. The face under the helmet was a girl, and Jinwoo didn't care what the demon looked like. When the monster raised her arms to show she was giving up, she fell to her knees and touched her forehead to the ground. Jinwoo wasn't cruel enough to kill her right away. I'm sorry, she said. We realized we had made a mistake. Please don't hurt me. Her behavior had completely changed, and now she was asking for her life. It was strange to see a monster begging. What? Jinwoo looked at the small creature, confused. Since there were magical beasts that could think, it wasn't surprising that some monsters were also intelligent. But this creature was very unusual. Jinwoo didn't know what to say, or how to react to the demon. He spoke with great effort. Are you asking me to let you live after you attacked my army? I have done something terrible. The demon noble pressed her forehead to the ground as she talked. But my family is supposed to protect this land, and we couldn't watch while those soldiers hunted people like us. I will always be grateful if you let me live. That seemed fair coming from the demons. Really, Jinwoo and his soldiers had attacked them first, so he asked a different question. How can you ask someone who killed your soldiers to save you? It is a knight's job to protect their leader. They would have been glad I came back safely. Jinwoo rubbed his forehead. What she said was funny. Was this monster being disrespectful, or just hoping for the best? The demon looked quickly at Jinwoo's face. Oh no. She could tell things weren't going well. She lowered her head and spoke quickly. If you let me live, I will give you anything you want. Jinwoo stood with his hands on his hips. Even though this demon was very strong, defeating her right now would be easy. What should I do? He wondered as he thought about his choices. It wasn't about deciding if they should free the monster. It was about what was more important than the rewards they'd get from defeating it. Then he realized the answer. A permission slip. What? The monster's head quickly rose in surprise. She looked almost exactly like a girl, except her teeth were long and pointed. Jinwoo asked her, "Can you get that for me?" The monster's face lost color when she looked at Jinwoo, and she quickly lowered her head to the floor. Jinwoo realized monsters probably didn't need to know about special objects. He didn't worry about it too much. Jinwoo took Barca's dagger from his bag. He was surprised a monster could even ask to be spared, but he needed the points to get stronger. He had earned 3,000 points from a demon knight, so he hoped this monster would give him even more. Maybe, just maybe, he could finally get the special pass he needed if he defeated this one. He was just about to decide what to do when the monster spoke. "I'll give it to you." "Give me what?" "The permit." The monster looked up and started to sweat when she saw the knife in Jinwoo's hand. "You can get me a permit to enter." The demon quickly nodded his head. "My family protects it. If you help me get back to them safely, I will give it to you." Demons were guarding the entry permits. Jinwoo tapped his chin. He had been on the 80th floor for a while, and defeated many demons, but he hadn't seen one of those permits. He first thought maybe items were harder to find on higher floors, or that a stronger monster would have it. But now it made sense. If the monsters were guarding the permits, like this one said, that explained everything. The demon seemed worried by Jinwoo's quietness, and became more desperate. "I know where all the passes for the upper levels are. If you promise to keep me and my family safe, I can show you." Jinwoo started to think this over. This was very interesting. Jinwoo wanted to reach the top floor as fast as possible, so getting help to find all the passes was a good idea. The only problem was whether he could trust the demon. The demon reached down and touched her chin. He could feel she was scared, but he didn't let go. He looked directly into the demon's eyes. A dangerous feeling filled the air. A special ability called murderous intent turned on. Jinwoo's eyes began to glow with a cold, frightening light. The demon was very scared and her lips trembled. "Can I trust you? I truly speak the truth." Jinwoo had made a promise to himself when he first got his powers. He would always keep his word. It didn't matter what the other person was. If they kept their promise, he would too. "Okay," Jinwoo said, and he stopped focusing his energy. "If you give me the permits, I will leave quietly." "Really?" he asked. The man nodded. It was too bad he wouldn't get to practice fighting the creatures guarding the permits. But looking for them would take even more time. He had wasted more time on the 80th floor than he thought. Also, if everything wasn't true, that was okay with him. He could really go after her and others like her. "Thank you." The demon leader looked very relieved. He wasn't sure if she really meant it, or if she was just easily fooled. Jinwoo lifted his eyebrow. He had one question he wanted to ask her. "Before we go, tell me, what exactly are you?" "I'm Essel, the oldest daughter of the Radier clan. My family is..." "That's okay. You don't need to tell me that." Jinwoo stopped her. He wasn't interested in her family. He wanted to understand why monsters and these special dungeons existed. How could he ask about this? He didn't need a full explanation. Even a small hint would help. He had asked about magical creatures before, but all he discovered was that they constantly heard a voice in their minds telling them to attack people. Did monsters hear a voice too? He decided to ask an easier question to compare them to the magical creatures. "Do you also hear a voice telling you to kill people?" "Excuse me." Else looked up and blinked. She was still kneeling, so Jinwoo had to look down to meet her eyes, which he didn't like. Jinwoo clicked his tongue and helped her up, like he would help a small child. He looked at her again. He could tell her heart was beating faster, like she was startled by his touch. He kept asking her questions. "I want to know if someone is telling you to hurt people." "Oh," Azel thought for a moment, then spoke a little hesitantly. "No, But we hear something different. What is it? It tells us to protect our home. She said this carefully, watching Jinwoo to see what he thought. Monsters have different reasons for living than magical beasts. Magical beasts want to kill people, but monsters want to protect the special places they live in. Their reasons for existing were very different. Wait, does that mean they see me as a strange creature like themselves? Jinwoo felt a little bad that he had scared Essel by showing her his powerful energy. But he didn't feel too guilty. When did you first hear that voice? Ever since we woke up here. Had these monsters lived in another place before this one? It was hard to tell if this was a real memory or a false one, but it appeared anyway. This might be a hint about solving the puzzle of this place. Jinwoo asked again. Where were you before you woke up here? I was in the world of demons.